On Tuesday, the 22nd of February, 2022, a young woman set off for work, just as she always did. But this time, she never made it back home. Her mother, growing increasingly worried, contacted the police and then, driven by a mother's instinct, started her own search for her daughter. The officers immediately began their investigation. Before long, they uncovered chilling details that would reveal the truth about what had become of the young woman. Levni Neftali Colin Martinez was born on March 24, 2003, in Almoloya, a town in the municipality of Delirio, situated in the state of Mexico. Rose Marie Martinez dedicated her life to raising her 3 children. Levni was the middle child, with Montserrat being the eldest. Their hometown, whose name translates from the indigenous language to the place where water flows out, lies approximately 26 kilometers from the state capital, the city of Toluca. Levni harbored grand dreams that extended far beyond the confines of her birthplace. She yearned to visit hundreds of countries, envisioning herself traversing the globe as a flight attendant on an international airline. Driven by a desire for change, she conceived a bold plan: to complete her law degree while simultaneously training to become a flight attendant. The young law student balanced her studies with a job at a video game store. This allowed her not only to support herself through university, but also to contribute to her family's well-being. Those close to her remembered her as a kind and affectionate young woman, her face perpetually illuminated by a smile. 21 years before Levni's birth, Navardo Salvador Morena came into the world. His path would eventually cross with the young woman sometime around 2022. Details surrounding Navardo's life remain scarce. It was known that he was born in 1982 and was married to Avian Estrella Laguna of Texas, with whom he raised his children. He primarily made a living as a clothing alteration specialist. While the police investigation and Levy's relatives suggested a relationship between her and Navardo, his wife and close circle vehemently denied these claims. The truth is that the aspiring flight attendant story took a tragic and unforeseen turn on Tuesday, February 22, 2022. That day began like any other for Levy and her family. The members of the Colin Martinez family went about their usual routines, and the day seemed ordinary, or so it appeared at first glance. As Tuesday drew to a close, the loved ones of Levni grew increasingly worried. She hadn't returned home after her shift at the video game store, and as evening deepened, Rosa and her children felt a growing sense of unease. Unbeknownst to them, Levni would never be coming back. By Wednesday morning, with no word from her daughter, Rosa was consumed by a rising panic. It was so unlike Levni to disappear without a trace that Rosa made the difficult decision to contact the state of Mexico's Attorney General's office, officially reporting Levni as missing. The authorities immediately activated the established protocol for missing persons, prioritizing cases involving women, children, and adolescents whose whereabouts are unknown to their families. Driven by desperation and hope, the Odyssey program was initiated, a sophisticated initiative comprised of 11 specialized modules, each orchestrated by seasoned professionals dedicated to locating missing individuals. The core principle of Odyssey hinged on the critical importance of the initial hours following a disappearance, the belief that these fleeting moments often hold the key to a successful recovery. For the family of Levni, every passing second felt like an eternity, their anguish compounding exponentially with each tick of the clock. Despite the tireless endeavors of both official institutions and Levni's distraught relatives, as of February 23, 2022, the young woman's whereabouts remained a haunting mystery. The family of Colin Martin poured heart and soul into the effort, leaving no stone unturned in their desperate quest to bring her home. They reached out to every friend, acquaintance, and relative they could think of, but their efforts yielded nothing. To cope with the uncertainty, they tried to use the time constructively, hoping it would bring them a sense of calm and focus amidst the turmoil of the search. Levni's mother even suggested that doing something was better than being paralyzed by worry and despair. As the days bled into weeks, from the 4th of February to the 24th, no news surfaced about the missing girl. Soon, the agony of not knowing what had become of Levni began to morph into a more profound and devastating realization. She was never coming back. 2 days of agonizing dread culminated in the confirmation of their worst fears. The lifeless body of a young woman had been found. Almoloya del Rio, a town once evoking a poetic image, was now a scene far removed from its name's gentle promise. The place of flowing waters had become a capital of horror. Levny's remains were discovered in a landfill in the municipality of Santiago Tianguistenco, a mere month shy of her 19th birthday. The authorities' grim discovery was utterly heartbreaking. Her body was bound, bearing the gruesome marks of a brutal beating and sexual assault. It was discovered in black polythene bags that barely concealed the horror. Law enforcement officers, prosecutors, and forensic experts rushed to the scene. Following established protocol, the area was meticulously photographed, documenting every detail. A variety of physical evidence, crucial for forensic analysis, was collected. Finally, the order was given to recover the body. The lifeless body of a young woman arrived at the Forensic Medical Service for autopsy. Initial investigations suggested that a landfill in Santiago Tianguistenco was merely the location where her body was discarded, not the scene of the actual crime. At first, the team of experts faced uncertainty regarding the victim's identity. However, suspecting it could be a missing girl, authorities summoned her family to the Forensic Medical Service headquarters for identification. There they confirmed the remains belonged to Levny. News of her death devastated family and friends who had desperately searched for her. It also deeply impacted the community as a whole. Immediately, a public demonstration took place where the girl's relatives implored authorities to capture the perpetrator and deliver justice. Following the identification of the victim, authorities swiftly launched a comprehensive investigation to uncover the circumstances surrounding the incident and apprehend the perpetrator. Their efforts included a thorough search of the location where the body was discovered and the surrounding area in hopes of finding potential witnesses. On Saturday, the 26th of February, 2022, several days after the body was found, Levny's remains were escorted to their final resting place. A palpable sense of sorrow hung heavy in the air that day. The family members were accompanied by a large crowd of mourners. Amidst the solemn funeral procession, women and activists united, their voices resonating with demands for justice for Levny and resolute opposition against violence targeting women, a disturbing trend on the rise. Adding a poignant touch to the somber atmosphere, a mariachi band serenaded the mourners with heartfelt melodies, a tribute to the young girl's memory. Upon reaching the Almaloid Alio Municipal Cemetery in Montserrat, overcome with grief, the sister of Levny, her voice cracking with emotion, expressed that she would give anything to have traded places with her. Her mother, Rosa, wept inconsolably, lamenting the loss of her beloved daughter, remembering her as a very good person. She addressed those gathered, describing her as an angel, a gentle, kind girl with a profound longing for life. With a heavy heart, Rosa confessed that her daughter was gone, yet sometimes it felt as though she had merely married and moved away. For most in town, life resumed its rhythm after the funeral, but not for Livia's family and friends, for whom the days stretched on, the ache of loss deepening with the investigation stalled. Despite the investigators' best efforts, several weeks passed before a tangible lead emerged in the search for the truth. Almost 3 months after the student's tragic passing, a crucial piece of the puzzle emerged. A surveillance camera near the young woman's workplace had twice recorded a Novardo vehicle passing by on Tuesday, February 22nd, the day she vanished. This clue led the police to a man who would soon become the prime suspect in the case. On May 5th, 2022, law enforcement apprehended Novardo at a car wash in Tenango del Valle. In mid-May, just days after the man's arrest, Levny's family was stunned as his wife and several close friends appeared in the media. They insisted on Novardo's innocence, alleging that investigators had fabricated evidence to frame him. His family believed authorities bowed to public pressure, eager to find someone accountable for the horrific murder of Levny. This, they argued, led to his arrest and planned trial. Vianney claimed she was with him, picking up a child from school, during the time the attack on Levny allegedly occurred, thus seemingly providing an alibi. Simultaneously, police investigators were working to determine if any connection existed between Levny and Novardo. Rumors swirled, suggesting the young woman's involvement stemmed from a transactional arrangement, not affection. However, the suspect's wife vehemently refuted any such connection. Vianney further alleged grave misconduct during the investigation, claiming her husband was coerced into signing several blank sheets of paper. These later resurfaced filled with incriminating confessions, she said. She detailed horrifying accounts of torture, electric shocks, suffocation with plastic bags, and brutal attacks on his most vulnerable areas. Vianney testified that these inhumane tactics were used to force Navarro to accept responsibility for the accusations against him. The wife of the accused publicly stated that her husband was interrogated without the presence of prosecution officials. He was also not accompanied by a lawyer or a representative from the Mexico State Human Rights Commissions to ensure the proceedings were free from coercion. During her statements, the defendant's wife addressed the most compelling piece of evidence used by authorities to charge Navarro with Lefney's kidnapping. A video recording from surveillance cameras captured the man's car near the video game store where the girl worked. Vianney acknowledged that it was indeed her husband's car and explained that it was perfectly logical that the cameras recorded him driving there. That road held a special significance. It was the very route he traveled from Almoloya de Alario to purchase milk from the local store. Day after day, it served as the path to escort their children to school and back. In a heartfelt display of support, Navarro's wife conveyed her sympathy to Lefney's family, expressing her fervent hope that the case would be solved, that the true perpetrator of the girl's murder would be apprehended and brought to justice. Simultaneously, she pleaded for the release of her partner. However, despite the family's every argument asserting Navarro's innocence, the authorities remained steadfast in their suspicions, continuing to question his involvement in the disappearance and tragic death of the girl. The judge presiding over the case dismissed the alibi concocted by the man's wife, despite Vianney's insistence that they possessed ample evidence to support it. In the ensuing months, all pertinent investigations proceeded under the watchful eyes of the Attorney General's office and the police. Authorities diligently worked to amass evidence, locate witnesses, and gather fresh testimonies, leaving no stone unturned to demonstrate Navarro's full culpability for the crime committed against Lefney and to dispel any lingering doubts surrounding the case. Approximately 3 months elapsed after his arrest before the authorities finally presented Navarro to the court. In August of that year, he was formally accused of the femicide of Lefney. Navarro persistently maintained his innocence. However, officials and judicial representatives remained convinced of his guilt. The presiding judge ordered Navarro to be held in custody at the Tinango del Valle Prevention and Social Rehabilitation Center for the next 4 months. From the outset, Lefney's case garnered significant media attention, particularly due to the fact that it involved a man killing a woman simply because of her gender, an act that consistently has a powerful impact on activist collectives dedicated to protecting victims. Gumersinda Baltazar's blood ran cold when she heard the name Navarro mentioned on the news. The circumstances surrounding Lefney's case were eerily similar to what happened to her own daughter. To this grieving woman, the man arrested in connection to Lefney's death was none other than the one who had taken the life of her beloved Zared Ramira Baltazar. 11 years prior, also in February, Zared left for her job as a rec mahera and never returned home. Like Lefney, the 22-year-old was discovered lifeless in the bushes alongside a desolate road, handcuffed and bearing the horrific marks of a brutal beating and sexual assault. Her body had been discarded in the town of San Pedro de la Boca. In the municipality of Zinacantepec, Mexico State, on the 5th of February 2011, Gumersinda's mind raced back as she learned of the accusation against Navarro. Memories flooded her, particularly the day the 27-year-old Navarro came to her home, seeking permission to court her 20-year-old daughter, Zared. Their courtship lasted a little over 2 years. Gumersinda also recalled the times her daughter confided in her about the physical and verbal abuse she suffered at Navarro's hands. The day her daughter's body was discovered resurfaced, alongside her decade-long battle to urge the authorities to investigate the matter. For Gumersinda, Navarro was the one responsible for her daughter's murder, yet authorities never connected him to the crime, despite the evidence she personally presented in court. One crucial piece was a security camera recording from a park near the girl's workplace, showing her walking with this very man. In the cases of the Zareta Levny matter, there were uncanny parallels. Firstly, the method employed by the assailant was strikingly similar, as was the manner in which the victims' bodies were disposed of. And finally, the name Navarro loomed as the suspected perpetrator in both tragic narratives. The common thread weaving through these two cases was the frustrating void of information. In the Levny case, concrete evidence against Navarro never surfaced. save for video footage placing his vehicle near the young woman's workplace. Similarly, in Zarid's tragedy, authorities remain without a perpetrator. Adding to the heartbreak, the few precious clues painstakingly gathered by her mother, evidence that surely would have aided the investigation, vanished without a trace. For over a decade, Gumersinda has tirelessly fought for justice, her unwavering determination a beacon in the darkness. She vowed not to rest until the person who took her daughter's life paid for their crime. Following the arrest of Nivardo Gumersindo, she joined the call for justice for Levni. She reiterated her demand that everything surrounding her daughter's fate be investigated and that the person responsible be brought to justice. During a public demonstration in support of victims of gender violence, Gumersindo joined the rallies to advocate for Levni, carrying a photograph of Zarid and Nivardo, along with a newspaper clipping detailing the day her daughter was found dead. Public pressure mounted, fueled by persistent demonstrations organized in defense of the victims, silenced by the murderer, placing significant strain on the authorities. For many protesters, Nivardo wasn't just a suspect in Levsny's disappearance. They believed he was also responsible for the brutal killing of his girlfriend 11 years prior. For over a year, young Levsny faced a similar torment to Gumersinda's decade-plus ordeal. They received no answers and anxiously watched as time passed, revealing nothing about the girl's fate, nor bringing to justice the person they believed responsible for her death. On September 26, 2023, a hearing took place, filling Levsny's mother and relatives with optimism that the case was finally progressing. They eagerly awaited the results, only to be disappointed by the hearing's postponement for a couple of weeks. On the 9th of October that year, a hearing was scheduled at the request of Nivardo's lawyer.